listening to Green Rapids.
Like a pro.
So good. I'm always shocked by how good people do.
I feel like they put on like their best voice,
Oh,
you know?
totally.
I'm like, oh gosh,
This is the moment.
don't choke on your spit.
Oh, it's happened to me before. It's like,
So yeah, welcome
Mid-meeting.
back. That was not Nancy or I. Who was that?
do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah.
I do. Thanks so much for having me on here,
Yeah.
gals. I am Katelyn Kirkstra. I am a Waste Reduction Educator with Kent County Department of Public Works.
Is
Love
there
that.
an abbreviation? Because
It's a mouthful.
everything out here has an abbreviation.
You know, everyone's like, what is Public Works? We all do different things. We call ourselves KCDPW. If you
That's
just,
still a long abbreviation.
I know, right?
Yes.
Just say, hey, you trashy person. I'd like to talk to you about.
I usually respond well to that. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, we're really excited to have you here. Actually, just side note, Nancy and I freaking love Katelyn. We love you. And after we first met you, we were like, we have to have her on. You know, we were just, obviously the waste thing is huge around environment. But we just love you as a person. We just vibe with you so well. So we're really excited about today.
Yeah. And also just like your enthusiasm for working with, and like a field that maybe other people may not think is like very attractive. But I feel like
Yeah.
you talked about it in a way that was like very like engaging and kind of fun during like our first meeting so long ago. For the record, we met Katelyn like I think last year.
Yeah, I think it was about a year
Yeah.
ago.
It's taking us this long to drag her into this room, but it's okay. I drag you, but you know.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are
We
making me
just-
like glow and blush. Like there's dim lights in here, but like I am like all rosy. Girls know how to make a gal feel good.
Good. Well,
Okay.
that's what we should do, right? We should uplift each other and make sure that everyone knows how important they are to spaces. And so something I want to kind of start with maybe, and this is something you brought up during lunch, was you didn't really picture this, right? Like fourth grade you, I guess to your point, and using your own words, you know, saying like would not have pictured this being where you ended up.
Yeah, and I
or
think
where
the way
your
you worded it was
passions-
like, oh, you know, I didn't think I was going to grow up and be like, yeah, I work in the landfill or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
right,
so,
exactly.
yeah.
So how did you end
How'd
up
you get here?
And if you want to start at fourth grade, you can.
Oh,
but like
yeah,
wherever.
let's go way
Yeah.
back, right? Well, fourth grade me and younger me, I wanted to be a veterinarian, which I feel like go to, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of folks. I wanted to be a veterinarian for as long as I remember. I was a big 4-H nerd, so animals, like
Yep.
our life. My grandma had a huge impact on me growing up. She was like head of the garden club.
Okay.
That's so cute. That's goals.
Yeah,
That's
like
grandma goals for
yeah.
I mean, that's goals, but grandma goals for sure.
right. And she was just like all about being outside. She had this garden and just remember like learning about bugs and just I want to be in nature, helping animals. So specifically conservation veterinary work. So helping endangered species.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was an option.
How old were you when you decided this?
Fourth grade.
Yeah,
Like,
that's real.
planner.
Yes.
Planner, eldest child. I would like
we
mission
mentioned
driven.
Capricorn, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So it wasn't until senior year of college that gaining some more experience and internships, I was like, this is a totally worthwhile career avenue. But there were other aspects of my life that I really wanted as well.
Yeah.
But that goal of helping the world, helping nature, animals, people was still very, very important to me. But I'm like, okay, girl's going to have a biology degree. What do I do?
Yeah, right. The forever question.
Yes.
What am I supposed to do with
Yes.
this?
So I took a victory lap, super senior
Okay, very cool.
at GVSU, and I added a natural resources management minor.
Okay, yeah.
Just because I was like, I need more time. I need to give my space more. Need to give myself more space
Yeah.
to think about this. Because all that I had been told was teaching or research. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if those are a good fit for
They're
me.
not ringing
Yeah.
bells. And a year is not that long.
No.
Right? Like that's
Especially when you're
nothing.
an adult. Time just it's like water through your fingers.
Yeah. And I wish we were more encouraged to be like, take that extra year.
Yeah.
Make sure that you do the last thing before you graduate, before you get your degree or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm so glad I did that because at the time I was like panicking. I was like, a year's a long time. I need to get out there. I need to live my life.
Yeah.
Like all of this stuff. There was a lot of like, I think self-imposed pressure and just kind of societal norm pressures.
Of
Yeah.
course.
So in the meantime, I was like, okay, I have to explore different avenues. And I got an internship as a wildlife and naturalist guide.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Well, I was like, naturalist guide, what is that? Like,
Yeah.
that was new vocab to me. It was with Ottawa County Parks and Recreation at Hemlock Crossings, which is a super cool nature center if you've never been.
Never been, but I'll add it to a list.
It's amazing. It's right along Pigeon Creek. But the whole goal was to meet people where they are when they come into that park and just tell them a little bit about the space that they're in. And
Such a good job for you.
I know. I was like, had I really like read the entirety of the job description, to be honest. But also like known that this was an avenue from the start.
Yeah, right.
Like, I think there would have been a lot of things different, but I wouldn't have been here. But I got to like grab snakes and toads and
We love that.
and point out birds on the walkway
Yeah.
and bring in all sorts of stuff. And this whole window of environmental education opened up.
Yeah.
And kind of thinking back, I was very fortunate to grow up on 40 acres of northern Michigan wild space. And that got me ruminating more as I was in this position. And I graduated and I was there for a little bit longer, and an opening popped up at Blandford Nature Center.
We like Blandford.
Yeah, woo-hoo.
Shout out.
Shout out to my first big girl job.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
I got a year-long internship there as a wildlife education intern. So
Some more critters.
more critters, right? Like on brand with Katelyn.
But it seems like you also lean toward being an educator, but it's nice to be able to take that out of a classroom or like a normal setting, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't seem like that's your vibe, right? Like
It's a
you
little
kind
bit
of were
more
like a
informal.
teacher. Like
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to do that, but like being an educator can look very different.
Yeah, maybe a little bit less structured. Although
Yeah.
now I need to ask, did you guys have possums while you were there?
We did not. I missed out on possum
That's
season.
okay.
That's
at
Nancy's.
Blandford.
My
That's
favorites.
her vibe. She loves
Actually,
her
we had
possum.
some people from Blandford, and I was like, at the library come in, and they brought a possum named Sylvia, and
Yes.
she grabbed my finger with her paw, and it made my whole year. It was great.
That's amazing. I love hearing about
And
those
Erica's
stories.
like, ugh.
That's kind of gross. I don't want possums grabbing me at all.
I love a possum. Like a water
Look
snake.
at you. You guys, I
What
wish
an
you could see
impactful
Nancy.
moment.
She's tearing up about the possum.
It was a good time.
It is. No, they're precious. They are sweet.
And
So,
they're just so
but to
ugly.
like your point, Erica, about like I think I was stuck in that thought of like it had to be this formal way of teaching, and I had no idea that I could literally nerd out
that's
and
like
talk
how we
about
like
all
it.
things nature
Yeah.
and get folks even introduced or aware or whatnot. And I think, you know, that experience of bringing folks out or even introducing them to nature where they are
Yeah. 'Cause
is
a lot of people just don't get that exposure, especially like at a younger age.
absolutely. I mean, one of the most, I think, impactful moments from that job was we would have all sorts of folks come out, students, you know, senior citizens, and what really cemented me into this pathway of I want to connect community and their environment was this little girl. She came up to me, she's probably second grade, and she goes, why is the tree moving? And I didn't really quite understand the question. And I was like, oh, can you say that again? Thinking maybe I misheard her, and she repeated the question, and I was like, can you say that in a different way? And and then she goes, no, it's like moving. And I had the final like realization, she had never seen a tree move in the wind.
Oh, wow.
That's tough because everything's like blocked by like there's just not that level of nature where she is.
And it
Wow.
like it hit me. It still gives me chills to this day.
That's bananas.
Yeah. And I know not everyone has that same experience, but just like it made me realize the importance of just everyone needs to have this relationship to their environment, no matter what form that takes, and that it's a reciprocal relationship that we need to give back to as well.
Yes. Exposure is everything. You cannot know to care about something if you've never seen it. You cannot understand something if you don't have time to observe it, right? So it's just so interesting. Like that's something that the three of us would never even, that wouldn't be a thought because we have had what we would consider the privilege to be able to be in nature and to be able to observe it and have time and space to even just think about like, oh, that's the wind.
Right. Yeah. As a rural little kid with the privilege of growing up on 40 acres, being able to observe that and having the space and the time, and then a mentor or multiple mentors in your life to say, this is what this is, and taking you out in a safe, guided way, like, so impactful on me. And so, how did I get from there to where I am now?
The trash thing. From Blandford
to like peaceful serene forest, which is actually like something my mom said when I was applying for this job. She's like, "Wait, so you're gonna trade like
let me get this right
in a forest for like an office at a landfill, right?
Are you okay?"
Temperature check. So when I was working at Blandford, there were a lot of opportunities to get folks out into nature, but I had this constant need, I think, for that intersection of, okay, but what are we doing as a community to make this a culture around not just visiting nature, getting joy from it, of course, but what are we doing as a community to care for nature and allowing nature in our environment then to in turn care for us?
It's allowed to be a foreign concept.
Yes.
It's not this thing that we all do. It's either like you were raised around it and understand it as like a second nature, literally, or you have to learn it in your adulthood. You have to force yourself into exposure.
Yeah.
And like I've even seen people who maybe did grow up in nature, but to them it's also so normal that they just take it for granted or don't feel like a connection for it, or maybe they see it as a way or as a resource to maybe capitalize on.
It's totally
so there's definitely a variety of like perspectives there.
I mean, I'm sure you know this too. Like I grew up in Holland. You grew up in Michigan as well, northern Michigan. I know people every day who just don't understand the impact that they're making on their environment that they live directly in.
100%.
It's just, you can be totally blinded. That's such a good point, Nancy.
Yeah, that removal, that disconnect. I was really loved the work that Blandford was doing and still is doing, but I really wanted to push further myself on to okay, but there's a civic piece of this as well.
100%.
And how do we keep that going? How do we get it going for those that are distanced from it? And that's how I ended up. When I was applying, it was it was called Resource Recovery Specialist. It wasn't Waste Reduction Educator at the time, which, to be honest, sounds kind of like a bounty hunter. And I was like, what is this job?
Am I going to have to bleach my hair?
Yes. So I was like, what is this? And it was talking about our human impact on the environment. And I was like, here's an opportunity to give back to the community that is my home. And I think everyone deserves a voice and a chance to advocate and impact the environment around them for the better. And you can't do that if there's a lack of eco-literacy around that.
That's a huge thing that I think we're seeing, right? It's not even that people don't care. I don't know that they know to care
Mm-hmm.
or know how to. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally a literacy thing.
And like what we're exposed to. Yeah, kind of like we talked about before.
Yeah. So besides, I guess, the feeling the need to be able to do that, like what else keeps you in it? You know, like what's the motivator now?
And how long have you been there now?
Yeah, because I was going to say, this is probably not yesterday that you got into this work. So yeah, what keeps you in it? How long have you been in it?
Yeah, so I have been with Kent County for 5.5 years.
Okay.
That's a chunk
Next
of
month.
time.
Yeah.
That's a big
Yeah.
deal. We don't do that anymore. We don't stay at jobs for 5 years anymore.
Yeah, we hop.
Yeah.
Yes, I was at Blandford for 5 years, and I
Yeah.
thought that was a long time.
It is
Yeah,
a long
you're
time.
like long-term relationships are my jam.
Yeah, so I think, we are in the time of action needed.
Yes.
And I think that there's a lot of bad news out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to change that narrative. Not just like it wasn't an ego-driven thing, like I want to be the
Yes.
one that cracks the nut on waste and recycling in Kent County.
Let me know when you do.
Yeah, for real. It was just more like, okay, I could sit here and feel powerless, and feel like I'm not giving everything that I can, or I can step up and try to do something.
Yeah.
Right.
I won't have all the answers. I'm not supposed to have all the answers.
Yeah.
But I want to make an impact.
Yeah. And we can all be a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
So
we
that's kind of
are-
what keeps me going.
Yeah. Well, and we are a piece of the puzzle, right? Like we can't separate ourselves from being a very important piece. Like it's such a good analogy because there's an entire picture. I am not the picture. I am this little speck within the whole thing that makes it up.
Kind of like the pointillism art. I don't know if you guys have seen that,
yeah.
But we're all a little dot that makes up the whole picture.
Yeah, we are. And some dots maybe leave larger marks, right? I mean, some dots might be like, that's the mole on the person's face that defines who they are. But it's still just as important as the rest of it, right? Oh, I love that.
That is so good. I'm glad you're weaving in your art background.
Oh, yeah.
To that. That was great.
It's there. I was like, I didn't go to art school for 9 years for nothing.
Yeah, right. So she's going to mention it every single time she's in this room, just so people
I'm like,
know.
art reference for the episode, check. Okay.
Yes. To your point, right? Using that degree, right?
Yeah.
Let's make sure it happens.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So what is one of your most favorite things you've gotten to do within this role?
Okay, before we even get to
Okay.
that though, what do you do for your job? Like
Okay,
what's
yeah.
like
Let's back up.
what does a normal day look like?
A day in the life of a
And
waste
what does
reduction
a weird day
educator.
look like?
Yeah. So I try to channel my Miss Frizzle.
Okay.
She's like
We love Miss Frizzle.
my
We all
lighthouse.
love Miss Frizzle. Oh, name a person. I want comment on this right now and tell me you don't love Miss Frizzle because we need to know who you are. But anyway, you channel. we'll
Yeah,
tag
I want to
her.
know. And then I want to like,
Scope you out a little.
yeah.
We can discuss. Okay.
What's wrong?
Yeah, so I try my best to channel Miss Frizzle. She is fun. She isn't afraid of diving in deeper when she doesn't have the answer. So I think to our discussion at lunch, this work can be long and it can be tiring. And sometimes you're not surrounded by a whole lot of positivity or
Yeah.
hopefulness. So she is my kind of like, whenever I'm like, I don't have the answer, I don't know what to do here. That was just like such like an impactful like moment
loving
or
this so
like
much.
show for me. I mean, Bill Nye's up there too,
Oh,
but
well, of
Yeah, yeah.
course.
But,
they
like-
raised us.
yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah, so like just like kind of like channeling that, like when folks are upset about something or if they are like, I'm overwhelmed on where to even start, like there's just so much waste, and kind of like remaining open to that curiosity, fun, and just like kind of can-do spirit that she has is kind of like how I try to channel every day. Some days are better than
Yeah,
others.
no
but
kidding. I think we saw Miss Frizzle's best days. Totally honest.
her highlight reel.
Totally. They were highlights. We did not see a 365.
Yeah, so every day, most days, a lot of questions are sent to us via social media,
Oh, cute.
email, voicemails, folks with stuff and what to do with it.
Yeah.
And our whole goal is to prevent stuff from going into the trash bin,
Right.
Yeah.
so that it doesn't go to the landfill and it doesn't go to the waste to energy facility.
It's probably a lot to sift through, but you would almost rather people call and ask first, right? Or ask those
Absolutely.
questions than to just throw it away.
100%. Yes, we would. Yeah, that's what we're there for. We want people to ask. We say, follow the trash trail, right? Like, when in doubt, find it out. Still in doubt, you know?
See,
like,
now a little part of me is like, there's potential for a board game there. But go on.
I love it. Yeah.
Trash trail. Okay, but go on.
Trash trail. Oh, like Chutes and Ladders.
Yes.
Something like that, yeah.
But kind of like,
But it's
Mousetrap.
Like, would you
Landfills and
recycle
leachate.
it? Yes, I was like,
We're trying to make it cute.
okay.
maybe
Not.
some
Yeah, I was like,
workshopping there.
let me let that keep just cooking in the
Let
background.
the artist in you really sit with that.
Yeah, so answering a lot of folks' phone calls, and that could be from everyday residents. It could be students calling from schools trying to get something going in their school, whether that's part of like Michigan Green Schools or if they have a research project, or it's businesses that are like, okay, I have tons of PPE left over, and what do I do with these 3 million gallons of hand sanitizer?
Yeah,
And
right.
trying to find like matchmaker for stuff.
Yeah, because somebody does have a need for that.
Yeah.
We
Like
would
maybe
like
a
to avoid
daycare
it.
center with German kids would want all that hand sanitizer,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
No
so
offense to the German kids.
no,
They're German.
they're German.
They know.
Yeah. So there's a lot of time spent on that. We do tours of all of our facilities as well.
We need to tour.
Yeah.
We need to do a part 2 of this
I just
tour.
got poked over this.
Oh, I forget that I have nails. Go on.
And we call it a trash rodeo when you do all 3.
Yeehaw.
Just for no particular reason. It just sounds fun.
It does. It does sound a little
Yeah,
fun.
like I'm sold on it. Go on.
So your day-to-day is kind of like just attempting to manage the lack of information around where to put things,
Yes.
assisting people getting from point A to point B.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, just trying to make that information as personal and as accessible as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And then also something I want to talk about is SafeChem, right, along that same vein. So if you can explain what SafeChem is, how people can access it, maybe some of the products that you take in, that would be super helpful.
Absolutely. So
You're like, yes, please.
I was like,
do this.
yeah, like all of the programs running through my head right now.
Yeah,
So
please.
SafeChem is the name of our program for our household hazardous waste program. So hazardous waste is something that we define as something that's flammable, it's toxic, it's corrosive, or it's explosive. So a lot of fun, dangerous adjectives right there.
Yeah.
But really, if anything that you have on hand falls within one of those camps, we will take it at our household hazardous waste program, SafeChem. There's 5 drop-offs throughout the county. It's free service.
I did not know there was 5. That's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice that it's countywide too. Because I guess I always because so much happens around Grand Rapids, I forget that there's other parts of Kent County. But anyway, go on.
There are other parts of Kent County.
There are other parts of Kent County, yes. Yeah, so I think to your point, Nancy, DPW for Kent gets confused with DPW for Grand Rapids. And
Of course.
there's some overlap there,
Yeah.
but we can dive down that rabbit hole later. I want to stay
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Okay.
stay on-
SafeChem.
yeah, so SafeChem, so there's 5 locations, each with their designated hours of the week. And you can pull right up our Wealthy Street location right next to our recycling center is our flagship SafeChem site. So that's the big one. So
The fun one.
the fun one, yeah. It's also home of the swap shop,
Yeah,
which
right.
part of the SafeChem program, we get so much stuff that falls in that hazardous waste category. It isn't open, or someone tried this type of spray paint. Oh, it wasn't the right color. Or I tried this cleaner. I hate how it smells. Or I didn't use all of this up. And so we, as a way of getting things up that waste hierarchy,
Prevent
right?
it from going to a landfill.
Absolutely. We want it out there and being used. So there's a swap shop. You're not swapping. You're actually not shopping. You're just taking what's there for free. and we want you to use it.
Yeah. So like you said, spray paint, house cleaners.
Yeah.
I'm guessing probably just like normal latex house paint and stuff too.
Yeah. So latex paint is actually water-based, so it's not hazardous. Once it's dry, safe for the trash.
Oh, and these are things that you don't know until you like look it up or talk to somebody about it.
Yeah, because
right?
I was like, I'm pretty sure I shouldn't put that down the drain, but I guess letting it dry is
Okay.
That makes more
Nothing
sense.
down the drain. So propane tanks, stain, shampoo.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, body products, laundry detergent. There's like even things like odor be gone for pets and there's a whole bunch of stuff.
Now, beyond, because some of those things are not necessarily like hazardous to like my skin or something like that. Like exposure is not necessarily hazardous. But what about that would we want to stop going into a landfill, right? Like, so like, can you explain to people why we don't want detergent going into the landfill?
Oh, that is such a good question. I'm so glad that you brought that up. So the whole reason why Kent County Department of Public Works became Kent County Department of Public Works, across Kent County at some point around the 1950s, we had over 25 dump sites, open dump sites.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I'm glad I was not born yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's like city archives and things. If you ever get to go down there, it's so much fun to peruse through old photos, but to see these sites.
That's a massive amount.
Right. So the whole reason why we were brought about is protecting public health and environmental health.
Okay.
So this hazardous material, while we are in our first generation of landfills, meaning the first round of engineered landfills where there's a liner system, methane capture, all that, we're catching up with, science is catching up with us, right?
Of course, you're learning a lot. This is a trial and error kind of thing.
So when landfills are made, they're kind of made like an Oreo, where you're stacking things on top of each other. You have a layer of trash and then daily cover, which is dirt or whatnot, over the top of it. Yeah, about a foot or so at the end of each day, because we don't want things escaping the landfill.
Totally right.
And then it's kind of built like Jenga. So like Oreo Jenga. It's built in sections.
Yeah.
Sounds delicious.
Right. And until that landfill is at capacity, precipitation events that rain down on top of the landfill seep through all the layers of trash. And then at the bottom is what we call leachate, aka trash juice.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about hazardous waste items like detergent or chemicals and cleaners, that will all go down to the bottom.
Right.
Yeah.
Straight down.
Yeah. Like just a big gooey mixture of everything. And that's not just chemicals, right? It's anything particularly juicy.
So we're talking like food waste that doesn't get filtered out, like diapers, pet waste, like that kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah, like manufacturing a salad dressing that had a wrong ingredient or too much of this or whatever. Or roadkill that the county road commission collects.
Which just creates even more hazard. There's no way that that's safe.
Yeah, the fact that there's like corpses in there, it's like,
Why do you have to say it like that?
Everything has a place.
Yeah. You're like,
so,
no.
Yeah, so when you're thinking about, like, it's not just, we call it cutesy, your garbage trash. Like, it's
domestic
everything.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's everything.
And it's not just yours. It's yours and your neighbors and your neighbor's neighbors. So it's like everybody's stuff all together.
So, and industry too, right?
Yeah.
So it can become very harmful all put together like that. Like that juice that it creates.
Yeah, so the juice, so back to the leachate. Sorry, we're going on a lot of bunny trails.
It's okay.
So the leachate that comes at the very bottom of the landfill pools there are pipes that siphon it off to a leachate storage tower.
Wow.
Because there's a liner system underneath, and it's not just like one flimsy plastic trash bag, right? Yeah, it's like 6 feet of clay and then several feet of gravel and then a whole bunch of like uber thick plastic liners and like several of them. So nothing can seep out into the groundwater unless somehow the liner system is compromised. But we have a whole environmental compliance team that's doing the sampling of the well monitors around the landfill. That leachate, though, with all of those different juicy substances, including chemicals, has to go to a wastewater treatment facility. And like these are reactive systems, right? All of our waste systems are, whether that's wastewater or municipal solid waste or everyday trash.
And they're trying to manage our issue.
Right. And so like even though that there's treatment for this leachate that has come at the bottom of a landfill, right? We're putting in so much and it's so hard to undo that mixed commingled action. Versus, we just don't put it in there to begin with. So by bypassing the landfill and having a specific hazardous waste program, you can prevent a lot of what we call legacy costs.
So by me putting my detergent in the correct spaces, I'm actually making sure that our water quality is also staying at the standard it needs to.
100%.
So it's a triple fold. You know, you're preventing it from going to landfill. You're preventing the leachate, and then you're also preventing the water systems that we're using from getting all of this chemical.
Also, I have to share a horrible thought, which is that leche reminds me of the Spanish word for leche, which means
no
milk.
Kidding. I've been thinking
so
about
I'm
this
like,
the whole
so I've been
time,
like
Nancy.
trash milk.
Like
it's
Americano.
Not tasty. She is not tasty. Oh,
I'm glad I could go there with you.
Yeah. So we just ruined lattes for everybody.
How is that like caramel?
I'm thinking of like kind of like those like Oreo kind of ones that have like the crumbs in it.
Why are you doing this to me?
This is perfect. I love it. So the really big part of that leachate, just to kind of bring it all together,
the trash milk.
The trash milk. One of the really big emerging things, I'm sure you guys are in the loop on, PFAS. It's in a lot of
everything.
Yeah, it's in everything. So
you can't escape it.
Yeah, what pools at the bottom?
Of course.
PFAS.
You're just sending PFAS into water treatment.
Right.
So, I mean, really, as the individual, you can do so much by not throwing something away, even if there's half of it there and you're not going to use it.
Right.
Bring it somewhere. Don't dump it down your sink. Do not put it into your trash. Somebody can use that. And it is so much better used on somebody's window than it is just going to a landfill for us to be able to sift through. And
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. What's the sense of putting all of these resources, time, energy, transportation,
tax dollars,
right, into producing goods for them to not only be used.
Oh yes,
right.
Absolutely.
Like what's the point? That's a horrible talking about our distance to nature or the environment. What says a more distant relationship or unawareness or like cognitive dissonance, to be honest, than to be like, I bought this. I worked hard for that money to buy this. I don't use it. And now I'm going to pay for it to get into the trash and then we're not taxpayer funded as a department, but some other municipal landfills are. And now to have more.
You're paying for it like 4 times.
Yes.
You're literally paying for it to purchase the product, to send it to a landfill, to have that landfill now manage the gunk that it came along with. That is all coming out of your own pocket.
And for a landfill that doesn't have like the systems that you guys have in place, and then you're also paying for the remediation of the landscape and the environment when those things do leach out.
Yep,
totally. And we're going to be paying for more landfills as this one gets full. And we're going to, but the space, right? Yeah. The space that this takes up. It's massive.
Right. Well, and
what's the square footage of this thing? Or like what's like a football, soccer field? Baseball field size of the
average our landfill. What is
how big is the landfill?
Is it the Butterworth one?
No. So the Butterworth one is the Superfund site that is located across from the recycling center.
Okay.
But it is managed by the city of Grand Rapids for environmental compliance.
Okay.
We, so Kent County's landfill, the only open landfill, meaning the only one that's taking trash in at this moment, is South Kent, so down by 100th Street, right on the border of Allegan County. You've probably driven past it so many times if you've gone to Kalamazoo. But, I mean, you'll smell it before you see it.
Of course.
But it is, I don't know the acreage off the top of my head. I know that we have 150 acres of expansion space that we don't want to turn into a landfill. Yeah. And I know that the waste to energy facility has a separate section. So the ash from the waste to energy facility doesn't go commingled in with everyday trash. It has its separate space, and that's 19 acres compared to 100 and something of the landfill. Okay. But they've both taken in about the same amount of trash.
Oh, interesting. But the waste to energy just kind of like reduces a lot of that in size or like in mass because so much of it gets like evaporated, basically.
Yeah. So
or like flamed and decomposed and reduced,
incinerated, right? Yeah. So to speak on that point, like if you were to hold a regular trash bag, like the regular size, the amount that it would be reduced would be able to fit into the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the whole purpose of waste to energy, was to conserve landfill space as to not build another landfill.
Got it. Okay.
Right. And then so I guess because I don't really personally like waste to energy,
sure.
I love the idea that we are taking something that is harmful and not just allowing for it to continue to be harmful without use. But I mean, what I really love as a solution is avoiding things going to the trash in the first place, which is why you do all of this work, because you don't want to have burning trash be your best solution. We want there to be less trash as a solution.
Absolutely.
So bringing things to Safe Chem. So making sure that your TVs and your electronic devices go to the right place. Making sure that you have a place to compost and to recycle. And then trash is like the third or fourth resort. Would stop us from, one, filling up that landfill, but then also having to burn it as the alternative solution. Even if it does reduce the amount of size. Okay.
Well, other than Safe Chem, what other programs do you guys have?
So we have free electronics recycling at all three of what we call our main facilities. So North Kent, the Wealthy Street location that houses Safe Chem, also houses an electronic drop off. You saw kind of the collection in action, and then South Kent also has it. So those free electronics cover a lot of different types of devices. It could be your kitchen mixer that kind of pooped out, or if you have that mystery drawer of cords and cables at home. And you're like, I don't know where these belong. That goes there. Burnt out Christmas tree lights.
Because we usually think of electronics as like your phone or your computer.
Right.
People do not think of a lamp as being an electronic device. Right. Okay.
Yeah. The only things that we charge for are the ones that contain hazardous waste. So those are going to be your box TVs.
Yep. Right. That makes sense.
Yep. Or like a dehumidifier.
Really?
Has Freon in it, or a coolant to condensify the
I didn't know that.
I just want to live in your brain for like a day and be like,
so you could just like buy these things without regulation, but then disposing of it is like a whole other thing, right?
Yeah. So I think what you're talking about, Nancy, is EPR, or extended producer responsibility.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be lovely? I mean, you can't just slap a recycle sign on something and be like, we did our part, you know?
Oh, but people do.
But that's what we that's what we do everywhere, you know? Actually, that's something that got me really interested in this work was I remember one day I was like, I don't like the McDonald's sign that says like serves billions. I'm like, what are you doing all those cups then, McDonald's? Like, what about all the paper bags you're producing? Like, I want you to brag about how you have reduced your carbon footprint, you know? Like, that's what I automatically think of as like the billions of cups every day that just go into landfills then, you know? So I wish there was the producer or whatever, the manufacturing thing.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
We're having a conversation.
And like to that point, not leaning on recyclability or even compostability as the solutions. Like there's no way that we can recycle and compost our way out of the huge, ginormous waste problem that we all collectively participate in.
100%.
And so I really love the point that you brought up about like waste to energy. Like we don't want to have to even think about conserving landfill space or even hopefully one day not having a landfill. What can we do to design a very reactive system to be completely proactive?
Yes.
And that starts with upstream solutions of designing, redesigning those McDonald's cups, for example, to be like, no, you want to know what? It's a loop program, and if you drop it off here, it gets sanitized for the next person. To
a dream.
I've heard a few places mostly on the West Coast. I don't really hear about too many of them out here. Are doing pilot programs and stuff like that.
We're stuck in the 90s. That's
we are
why.
stuck, man.
No, but that would be beautiful, right? Or like I love, a lot of coffee shops are on this theme. COVID definitely changed things, but like bringing your own mug in, right? Like we'll take $2 off of your $3 coffee. Like there has to be some kind of incentive for people because not everybody knows that Safe Chem exists, right? Not everybody knows that there's these places that our trash goes.
Right.
But is it up to all of us to have that full understanding before, or is it up to the people who large scale produce these things to first jump on that, to your point, like be proactive instead of reactive?
Chicken or egg. Yeah. I think, do we have to pick? Can we just say yes and?
Right. No, okay. Or I'm like, chicken or egg, I don't care. Either give me an egg that is going to make a chicken or give me a chicken that's going to lay more eggs. But like someone's got to.
Either way, we want both.
We want both.
Yeah.
We want it all. And there has to be a larger system that is going to do it first because Erica can't do it. Katelyn can't do it. Nancy can't just wake up one day and be like, we're going to reduce all of our waste.
It's important, but
that has to be a collective decision.
It has to be a cultural decision.
Totally.
Like, what do we want how do we want to be defined as a society? And what do we want to leave for the future? And yes, the earth needs caretaking. But we do too, and we're not doing ourselves any favors. We're kind of self-sabotaging ourselves by treating things with indiscriminate throwing away.
Yeah,
everything is disposable.
Yeah,
everything is bought for a purpose, and then when you're done, you just get rid of it.
And what does that say about us?
I remember reading about the fact that the plastics industry had to teach people how to throw things away because before that there wasn't a disposability culture. And now we buy things to toss them. We buy, like, they had to teach people how to be like, oh, you use this once and then you toss it. Like, that's the whole point.
So ugly.
And that's how plastics got so popular. And that's how they were marketed as like, oh, it's a way for you to do less chores. And I feel like they really began to like cheapen our relationship with the things that we bring into our lives. And like now even like our clothes are disposable, right? Like we look at
our
fast
clothes
fashion,
are made out of plastic now.
They're made out of plastic. And then what do? We use them a couple of times. They fall apart. Nobody really mends their things anymore, and they end up in the landfill as well.
Or you buy something for an occasion, right? Like I'm 100% guilty of doing stuff like that. We are born and raised around this mindset that like you can update your house every 5 years and you can, have a new dress every single time or, you don't have to be mindful of what you're going to do with that dress when you're done with it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just there is no general standard. And so I love the work that you're attempting and you are accomplishing in that space, right? You can teach people from like the perspective of I'm the person who's sorting. I'm the person who's managing, maybe not physically sorting, but like your brain is sorting what you're going to do with everybody's stuff.
Yeah.
And so if we can teach them that your stuff like has a lifespan, this is the way that it should end would be a great starting point.
Yeah.
That should be in schools, right? There should be the class about what to do with your waste.
With your stuff.
What to do with the stuff when it's just stuff to you.
Yeah. I love that. And I want to touch on 2 points that Nancy brought up.
Yes, please.
Because I think, like, to your point about there's this consumption culture. Of course, if you're going to consume more, you will make more waste.
Right.
that's just kind of
the
law of physics. And so if the pressure of the dollar and this consumption behavior got us into this mess, it can help us get out of this mess too. And kind of pushing back on that consumption behavior, because as we mentioned earlier, all of the waste systems that we have are reactive to this bending of the knee to consumption,
the human condition.
Culture. Yeah. And so, like, I would love to see the upstream faucet turned off, or at least a little bit, lowered. And then that convenience culture, right? Like everything has to be thrown away. We can't hold on to it. Like, I remember being at Blandford and like pack it in, pack it out, and people just being so disgusted with having to carry their trash. And I'm like, wait a minute, you just ate a granola bar from this wrapper 2 seconds ago. Why is it now just filth? And that psychology or that mind flip that happens immediately after you've determined this has no value continues to surprise me. And keeps me driven in my job, because I'm like, what is that? Like, how does that happen where just all of a sudden this has no value to me? And I'm like, if we could just determine that things have value because they are, not because of what it serves me, like, how different would our world look?
Yeah, especially if you think about even like a plastic spoon. Like, if somebody were to really dive into the journey that it took for that spoon to get to you, like, I feel like it would make it a little bit more precious, you know?
Yes. I even think about sometimes, like, the people who are spending hours of their lives making these products that we just see as meaningless. Sorry.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes. I picture really sometimes people like literally sitting here making the freaking to-go box that you're about to throw away.
Right.
And like, they're exhausted. They would love to be making, I'm sure, anything other than like the over and over and the same just crap.
So are we saying then, but this is the most convenient option for me? Are we saying that our convenience is way more important and treating workers as disposable and what they give back to our
like
community?
How far does that disposability circle or perspective extend?
But this is a human created problem. Like,
literally made by people.
We are responsible for people feeling that way. If I did not need or feel like I needed things at the rate that I did, people would not be producing them at the rate that they are. Right. So
and we're
keeping
overproducing
up.
Things that we don't need, and then underproducing things that we do need.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a weird little dichotomy too.
It is. So it's super inspiring to know that there are people behind the scenes attempting to work on this, even while every single day in Grand Rapids, there's 200,000 people who really don't understand at all where their stuff is going. Yeah. So like, it is just so important. It just goes away. Well, but it's so important for them to know, to hear these types of things. And it's really difficult to reach that many people. So I really admire the work that y'all are attempting to do and doing. I keep saying attempting because it is a very large
constant work, right?
Yes. Like it's just going to
you're doing it, but you're also trying to do it more.
Well, and we just see how big the problem is, right?
Yeah.
Like to try to sort everybody's trash from the outside in is woo.
It piles up fast.
Yeah.
Over 650,000 tons annually. That's for our landfill. That's not any of our other
recycling or anything else. That's just what's straight up going into your trash bag.
9 Van Andel arenas.
That's huge.
Right.
Okay. Well, on a more positive note, I remember last year
climate gets like this.
I remember you were talking about this project of a sustainability business park.
Oh yeah.
Where is that? How's it going?
Yeah. So the Sustainable Business Park, for folks not in the know, we talk about the tonnage, the literal tons of trash that are coming across our doors. And it is so much easier, as we mentioned, upstream, just get it to the right bin, get things not in the trash to undo that trash bag. But our proposal was the safety net of a mixed waste processor, which would be the anchor tenant of the Sustainable Business Park. And the Sustainable Business Park would be an ecosystem of small and large businesses that would be every point in the process, from those that would take it and separate it away from other things coming in. So think like food depackaging for things that got spoiled in a truck that maybe got stranded on the side of the road.
Wow.
Right?
What a task.
Or, wow, we need tires to be removed from rims to be removed from tires.
Yeah.
And then we need those to go to different places because they have different processing. So kind of like all these little puzzle pieces that would fit together to create local manufacturing, local green jobs, but also reduce our waste. And so that safety net of a mixed waste processor would be kind of the last defense line between our bins and the landfill, because we recognize, as much as we might push for policy, infrastructure, programs, there's still going to be challenges to folks participating in this waste diversion.
Of course.
That's just life right now. And so just being able to make participation a guaranteed for everyone in our community.
Yeah.
It's not an option. This is what happens before it goes to the trash.
Right. Okay. Yep. So your trash bin would essentially come in through that mixed waste processor, and kind of similar to the equipment at the recycling center, but maybe a little bit more robust, maybe a little bit more smelly. It is trash. They would be able to separate organics away from reclaimable recyclables and kind of remove some of the bulkier items.
Yeah.
Where we're at right now is the partner that was going to be doing a lot of the work for the operations of the facility.
Like the sorting itself.
So like having both the equipment, the producer of the equipment that we would need, but also the operators of the facility.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like DPW staff would be there, but not necessarily the ones doing the sorting at this big facility. The partner fell through.
Okay. Which is what the sigh, the kind of like this beautiful, great system.
Yeah.
But it's just
Right.
It's on pause.
Right. And it wasn't so much kind of like we thought that was going to be the solution.
Yeah.
We were just like, this would be such a sigh of relief and such a big win.
Yeah. A step forward.
Yeah. A step forward.
Yeah.
And there were there still are so many people that are like lined up there. Like, if you can land this anchor tenant, we're ready to like set up shop tomorrow. And we would, be on board to help do reuse of clothing or upcycling of clothing, or we would bring in a glass processor. Like right now we have to like pay for our glass to go someplace. And so
just a waste of
bringing downstream processors closer to home doesn't just enable our department and our county to thrive in waste management, but it would help support the surrounding area where maybe they want to start a recycling program, but it's not feasible because of the distance or the volume that they would have to create.
Now it's just right down the street. Now it's in Grand Rapids.
Yes.
It's a 30-minute drive or whatever.
Yeah. So it's on pause. We were like, it's like right close to the finish
You could
line.
taste it.
Yeah, we were like, it's happening. And it was like a big kick to the gut, but that's this work is
Pivoting a lot.
It's this it's like building a landfill. You never know where it's going to be. It's a change every day. And we're really hoping that the Sustainable Business Park, or even if the idea of what it was going to be isn't the same, still happens.
Yes.
In
At
some way.
some capacity.
It has,
some
it
level,
has to.
Yes.
If our community and our officials are serious about wanting to not only preserve our environmental integrity and our public health, but also our local economy, like this is such a driver for the future and gives our generation, future generations, such hope about their futures, that I just feel like this has to happen. Yeah. And so I'm so hopeful, but it's going to take all of our collective voices to make sure that that is a known priority in our community.
Such a good point. If people don't know that the sustainable business park is a thing, how are they supposed to say that's something I need in my life? That's something we need for our community. That would be really important for my neighborhood, right? Like, I just keep, like, something that every day is coming up in my mind is you just can't know until you know. And you can't do things until you have the education and resource to be able to implement that. And I think we're living in this world of misinformation and lack of resource. And that's why we're at this freaking, like, standstill where it's like, even our systems are confused as to how to move, you know? And so it's just like, we know that there are people like you who have this knowledge, and we know, we know there are people who have resource. We know that there are either, you know, systems that have the funding that could support this. There are very wealthy individuals in Grand Rapids who could help push those. I mean, I want to see Grand Rapids be on the map. I could literally
just take like one billionaire to make this happen.
It would take one billionaire, and last I heard, we got some multimillionaires at the very least in this area. But, like, don't they want a legacy project? I always think about that. Like, DeVos landfill. We love the way it sounds. You know, or not landfill, but like the DeVos, like, processing. Like, put your name on something.
Oh, we can make it sound sexy and sparkly.
We can make it sound so good. But really, like, that's the legacy piece that I want to see. I think it's great to have these, you know, the hospitals and all the other buildings and the things that we fund. But, like, what is really going to make a huge impact in the city? What is something that in 100 years, when someone says that name, you want them to, like, it rings true,
right?
Right. And so I think this is now more than ever the time for wealthy people to invest in solutions. How good do you want to look when the climate is changing? And in day one, you were like, I was supporting the solutions toward that, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think that thinking that is common among folks of, like, waste, landfill. I don't want my name associated with that. Like, that's what this ick factor and distancing is what got us here, right?
Yeah. Trash is gross.
Right. Trash is gross. No one wants to hang out around it unless you're me.
You want to come to my office?
What do you got in your trash bin?
Yeah. You're sorting through people's stuff.
Why do you have that footage of me? How come you know I do that? I think, like, even if we stopped thinking of it as waste or calling it waste, stop thinking of it as trash. It has no more value. Call it materials. And suddenly we're innovative, right?
Yeah.
So
that
like,
is innovative though.
Yeah, like I'm thinking like resource recapturing plant or something, you know?
Resource recapturing, resource repurpose. Yes.
Yeah, like rediscovery of resources.
Wow.
You guys were on.
You can't make it sound sexy.
That was super hot. Yeah, but if we stop calling it that, language can be very powerful.
Absolutely.
And even recycling in my head is waste. It's trash. Right. But it is. It had a life before, and it is going to have a life after if we allow for it to.
Ooh, if we allow for it to. I love that.
On the
that
spot.
personal action, because there's a lot of there can be a lot of apathy out there where it's kind of like, what does my individual action do? But our individual actions have gotten us here. So all it takes is like a business, like Earthly Refillery, call them out.
Yeah,
we love
like being like, I want compost and I want to share that compost with my neighbors, and having a compost bin, or saying, I see the need for a refill business here, or businesses choosing not to distribute plastic bags. Like those are active choices and impactful choices.
Absolutely. I mean, we chose to go to Field and Fire today because of their mindfulness. Everything that they do, from like the way that they take their things to they use reusable napkins, they use compostable things if you do have to take it. They're just very mindful about their waste and where they get the products that they're serving people. And I think it's very
More locally sourced
inspiring.
food. Yeah.
Totally. So speaking of actions, we do a call to action for each episode. And so what would be your call to action? Something to leave individuals who listen to this, something they can do that might be fun, inspiring, diverting their
You can do an entry
materials
level or hard mode, whatever.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Or both.
Okay. All right. I will go. Can I do easy mode and hard mode?
You can do whatever you want.
I think easy mode. Just pick one thing that you're throwing away often. Just one thing. For me, how I even got started on all this I throw out there, this waste stuff, I guess I do for a living. I get after my mom. She uses a lot of paper towels. Yeah. And I was like, when I have my own house, I'm not going to have paper towels at all. And I made it a reality. It just bummed me out how much was like going into the trash. And I was like, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
Can I reimagine, to our conversation earlier at lunch, kind of manifest the life I want into a reality.
Another episode.
And so I started there. And I was just like, okay, I've got color-coded ones. Like blue is for bathroom, green is for kitchen.
Oh, that's smart.
Mine are just a freaking, I couldn't tell you what goes on them.
We can have that cognitive dissonance of like, maybe this wiped my toilet, maybe it wiped something else.
Yeah.
You just opened up like,
it's okay.
My brain just was like, do it.
No, the color coding is genius. And I mean, we did a shout out for Earthly Refillability, but they do have reusable paper towels there. But go on.
That's where I get mine. Go on.
I see mine are just like crusty old t-shirts.
That's fine.
That's even better. Why do I buy them? How many crusty old t-shirts do I have?
Look, it's the consumerist in me. Okay, but go on.
That's fair. I mean, there's aesthetics that are like very hard to resist for sure.
My pile of towels do not need a stack. But anyway, so baby steps.
Yeah.
Right?
So my first easy step would be just pick something that you're disposing of a lot and just change that one thing and do it for a few months. It takes 60 plus days scientifically to develop a habit. So why you can't do all the things, especially all at one time. So just pick one thing. That's easy mode. Pick
do
one
it for
thing.
60 days and then pick a different thing.
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
Keep going. Just keep going.
Love that.
And then I think hard thing. I think this would be hard, maybe emotionally.
Okay.
For folks, do a waste audit at home. Like I'm saying, set up a tarp. Dump your trash out, not just like your cute trash. Like, oh my, I just put my like little tissues in this like little car trash bag. Like I'm saying,
get your bin,
your mess, get it out onto a tarp and look at it. And this is not a guilt trip. This is a, what can I do differently trip.
Shift your mind, accountability for what you're putting out there.
Yeah. Because if it's out of sight, out of mind, why would it not be at the forefront to change?
Well,
right?
The bins are not clear. That's for sure.
Oh, but what if they were?
Oh, but what if that's what we need to get a clear trash bin?
I see you, Deborah, throwing out all your whatever.
No, okay, this is like totally on a tangent, but like,
let me control myself.
Maybe we've talked about this in Japan. There's like this code. If you're not properly separating your bin, your neighbors will come up to you like, look, this is a shame. Yeah. You need to make this better. Absolutely. This is not to standard. You have not sorted your things. Like, I would love if there's this.
There's that culture piece again, right?
Culture.
That peer pressure.
They don't mess around with that, right? You know that there's a code that we all follow, and you're not doing it right.
It's funny. Erica was talking about this earlier when it comes to even like our budgets, right? Like really getting in there with our budgets and being like, where's my money going? Sometimes there's a lot of cognitive dissonance about what we think we're spending our money on.
Yes.
But if you also think about it, all the trash that we have, we paid for it at some point. So it's also like how much money is just going out to the landfill.
And how many times do you want to pay for it?
Yeah.
By having it sorted.
Absolutely. So hard mode, take a look at your trash. Yeah. Sort it if you can.
Trash audit.
Here's my food waste. That's going to compost. Oh, these chopsticks. Wooden chopsticks and popsicle sticks, those can also go to compost. Here's my recyclables. And once you've got everything sorted, now you know what's in your trash bin. Now, what can you change in that trash pile? And what can you change in those other piles to be
Yes.
reuse items? Because
Yes.
ultimately we want to keep like upping that game.
Yeah.
You can't do it all at once, but just keeping it in the forefront of your mind where you're just taking a peek every once in a while at your trash and being like, wow, I have a ton of water bottles. Good on me for getting them in the recycle bin. Okay, next step, get a reusable water
Buy
bottle.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah,
right.
and make it a habit to use it. Don't just keep buying new Stanleys every year. No shade to anyone that has a Stanley, but
or 25 of them.
yeah, or that. I mean, there's just like a little bit of that sustainability trend being
A little
Well,
backwards.
reverse,
Capitalized, right?
Where it's
And
like,
not-
so now it's a consumption, but I am being sustainable.
yeah. Can we call it sustainable?
Is it sustainable
Yeah.
at that point?
No shade
Yeah.
to anyone that needs to go out and buy a new cup. If,
But the
if-
thrift store always has a lot of water bottles.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
they have everything you will need
Yeah.
except for food.
Yeah. So like kind of just like that needle nudging.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
hard.
like that.
That hard mode, but I think
I
it's
love that.
worthwhile.
It reminds me, and we could literally talk all day, so we're gonna have to stop at some point. But it does. It reminds me. An analogy I like to use is like the gold medal moment, right? We do not see Olympians when they wake up every day at 4:00 in the morning. We don't see the diets. We don't see the sacrifices. We don't see their losses. We just see the gold medal moment. And so it's not necessarily about today being that person. It is about starting your process to becoming that person. Because even now, like, I'm at this midpoint. Like, I could be so much further in my sustainability journey, so
Can't we all?
we all can. I mean, even if you meet somebody who's like on their shit, there's still further they can go.
Right. And I haven't hit the pinnacle of like photosynthesizing my own food
Yes.
yet, but goals.
Oh, that's tough. I love how you said that too. You really turned it into like a whole process. Growing food is hard. So yeah,
I love that. Not letting that perfection
yes.
be the enemy of any good
Progress.
process or
Yeah.
progress. Yeah, progress.
Well, it's just you're not going to wake up and have all the answers. You're not going to wake up and just solve all of the things. But like every day working at it, you will eventually get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And even if you goof, there's tomorrow. Because
Better than goofing every day and not doing anything.
Right.
about
Yeah.
it.
The amount of times that you're doing it, just that's that number of things that you're not throwing away.
Yeah.
Makes an impact.
I love that. What a great conversation.
And what a great call to action.
It is such a good one.
Y'all better be inspired.
Yeah, and it's simple. It's attainable, right? We can all do that on our own time.
Yeah.
We can all do it at our own pace. But it is important that we all make a step toward doing it.
And make it personal to you. Like,
Yeah.
don't be like, I'm going to get a meal utensil kit if that's just not your
It's not your thing. Right.
right? Like, just do something that works for you that you can stick with. Absolutely.
Katelyn, you're hitting all the spots. I love it. Yeah, thank you so much for this conversation.
Yeah, this is really fun.
We've been really excited to have this conversation with you.
trash.
So we're talking trash. We're talking dirty today.
I love it.
Yeah.
This
I
was
do
such
too.
a blast with you guys.
It was
I
fun.
loved having this conversation, and hopefully it's
We love
just
to
the
nerd out
start.
on this shit.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, and stay trashy, folks.
Yeah.
That's cute.
That is super cute.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You'll,
not the last.
we'll talk soon. Peace.